Hey everyone, happy Sunday, Walking Dead Sunday to everyone. It's a great Sunday here, and I'm starting to feel a lot better, which is fantastic. I have been under the weather for what seems like almost a month, but it's it's more likely about a week and a half. But happy to be back talking about Walking Dead, and we've got the last two episodes, literally of this first half of the season, but the last two episodes of 2018 of The Walking Dead. And it seems like we were waiting so long for season 9 to start, and it always happens. We wait and we wait and we wait, and here we are, the last two episodes. Looking forward to tonight's episode, season 9, episode 7. This one is directed by Michael Cudlitz, which is really, really awesome. Looking forward to seeing what he brings back to The Walking Dead. Obviously, having his character exiting the show some time ago. Obviously, it wasn't by choice. He was kind of killed. At least his character was. But it's nice to have him back in the director's chair. And we're seeing this a few times in different aspects of The Walking Dead and through the Walking Dead universe over in Fear the Walking Dead as well, too. We had Strand, directing one of the episodes as well, and was actually one of the great episodes, I think. It did a very, very good job, considering the fact that, the show is what it is. I don't think it compares to the parent show, The Walking Dead. In some cases, maybe even better sometimes, but for the most part, it definitely doesn't it doesn't stay on par with The Walking Dead. But we're seeing characters coming back and directing. So this making the second time, at least I think it's only the second time, a Walking Dead alumni has come back to direct. And that certainly won't be the last time, because obviously we've now lost Andrew Lincoln from the show, Rick Grimes, and we're supposedly going to see him. He's been shadowing some directors already to come back in season 10 and direct. And I think he's already been on the set a few times now, as I say, shadowing a director, hanging out with the director for the day, kind of getting the director's mindset and world and how things work that way. Because it's one thing to be in front of the camera, and even though you might be someone like Andrew Lincoln, who is a great orchestrator, one of the ringleaders of everybody, making sure everyone gets the best out of their lines, that's cool. But once you get behind that camera, it's a different thing altogether. So we're going to get to see what possibly he can do next year. I think it's going to be phenomenal. But let's just start with tonight. Episode 7, which is called Stradivarius. Obviously, for the musicians in the world, that's kind of a cool thing. I'm not sure how Stradivarius plays with tonight's timeline and script and things like that. We'll find out. I have no clue. I haven't seen the episode yet. Some of us in the Walking Dead community get these episodes earlier than others, but I haven't seen it yet. So I did happen to see the premiere episode of season 1. Episode 1 of season 9 beforehand, 24 hours early. But that was it. A lot of us were able to get that. Don't have that luxury here with episode 7 and obviously episode 8 next week. But it's really, really cool. I was one of those people a while back, not that long ago, hearing the fact that Andrew Lincoln or Rick Grimes was leaving the show. And, probably one of those first people, like I've been invested with the show the whole time, like since day one, watching the pilot, being like a diehard invested fan. I've said this many times on the show that, Sundays were Walking Dead days. And I'm preaching to the choir here when I say Sundays are Walking Dead days. You get your laundry done, you get your dinner done, you get your dishes done, and you're looking at the time. It's like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. I've got 3 hours until Walking Dead starts. So we got to get everything ready. And I like to be like in my seat. Okay, everybody quiet, get the TV cranked up. Okay, 10 minutes to Walking Dead day. That's how invested the family was here and still is to The Walking Dead. But hearing that, Rick was leaving in one way or another, I thought, the show is going to tank. And a lot of people said that. A lot of people are still saying that. And I'm still seeing comments in some of the Facebook groups. The show's dead. Never be the same. But honestly, it's not. And I think one of the things, I don't want to quote Andrew Lincoln for what he said here, but he said something along the lines of that the show is bigger than any one person. And that's true. Like I'm a diehard. Like if I'm going to pick one character on the show, it's going to be Rick Grimes. That's my favorite character start to finish. But it is bigger than any one character, and he left to let the show grow. Now, sure, he left the show for two reasons. Number one, and probably the most paramount of importance, he left the show to be with his family back home in England. There's a lot of time being spent over here in North America, United States, staying over there, filming for several months at a time, and then flying back home, and his kids are aging rapidly, and you're missing all those, special moments, baseball games and plays and school choirs and all those special things, birthdays maybe in some cases, so I applaud him for wanting to do that. But second of all, I think this should be almost close to that as importance. He's doing it to let these other characters grow. There's younger cast members that are kind of coming up the ranks, and kind of growing or kind of getting their wings, so to speak. So I think when he said it's bigger than any one character, I really agree with him 100%. And the show, so episode 6 was the first episode post Rick, and we're talking now 6 years past the disappearance, we'll say, okay, without spoiling anything. It's 6 years, and that's no spoiler because it's listed on the cable guides and everything. It was listed as, the episode was listed as last week's episode. Episode 6 was like 6 years after the disappearance of Rick, right? So it's no surprise. And there's a lot of weird things. It's a fresh restart. You're seeing characters in a different look. You're seeing characters scattered now. Some characters have left quietly. Things like that as well too. And we're not getting a lot of things, a lot of story on those. So we're going to maybe touch base on that a little bit tonight. Sadly, Lauren Cohen, Rick's last episode was, I should say, Andrew Lincoln. Let's refer to them in the actors' names. So Andrew Lincoln left in episode 5, and so did Lauren Cohen. And sadly, hers was more of a silent exit, but it's kind of cool because she's gone, but is she gone? There were some references, talking about going back to the hilltop, and we'll talk to her or she at the hilltop, and were they referring to Maggie or were they referring to somebody else? And I think we're gonna maybe possibly see. It may not be tonight. It may be next week. And that'll be the last episode, obviously, before the mid-season break. But maybe we're going to see some returns of Tara. Now, I've mentioned this before as well too. I certainly don't want to ever attack any character on the show, any actor on the show. And I've also said this in various Facebook groups that I'm a part of as well too, Walking Dead related, that if you love a character on the show or you hate a character on the show, that's nothing to do with the person themselves. That means that the actor is really selling it, and hitting a home run with a character. Like look at David Morrissey as a governor. We hated that person, but we kind of liked him a little tiny bit too. Look at Negan. We hate that guy, but we kind of like him a lot too. Some people like him more than maybe even than they hate him. But that person is reading a great script written by great writers and is selling it. So, long story short, going back to Tara, is a character that I don't really care for. There's a few characters that I never really did care for, and I won't necessarily go through all of them because, it's like talking politics. You can't really win with this, or religion, because, I might like this politician and you hate that politician. I might like this actor or actress and you could be the opposite opinion. So I don't want to go down that road and make enemies. So, but it's just one of those characters that I think is not necessarily we talk A's and B's, where there's that whole theory, trying to figure out what these A's and B's are. I certainly wouldn't even rate Tara as an A or a B, maybe a C. And I'm just trying to be diplomatic. But I think we're going to see maybe her coming back up a little bit in the ranks. Maybe we'll see her being leader of the Hilltop in Maggie's absence. But let's jump over to the... hey, this is very cool. Some people jumping in don't know anything about the show. Just want to say hi. That's very, very cool. Let's jump over to the chat and say hi. I've made some notes. I don't have a really formal agenda tonight, but I did make about a half a dozen, actually more, almost like a dozen notes to discuss tonight. And like I said, I've been off. I've been off for a while, so this is almost like starting over again. Being off for a week and a half when you do 2 or 3 shows a week seems like a lot longer. So bear with me as we get back into the swing of things. And I'm not going to have much time to catch my breath because we're back full square now, and we'll talk about what's coming up here very shortly as well too. So let's go over to the chat. We'll say hi. I know I've got it on the screen as well too, but there's no way I'm going to be able to read that on the screen. For Danger, the Rockin' Dead jumps in here first in line. Michael Wallace is here. Nocturnal Butterfly, my beautiful better half. We're going to mention something later in the program too that she's been she's spearheaded here on the channel, and it's some good things for you guys and girls to possibly participate in and win some things that's coming up. I'll tell you about that as well too. She also mentioned make sure you're on the live chat. Excuse me, pardon me. Gary Holt is here. Gary, it's nice to see you, my friend. Talking back and forth with you earlier tonight by chat. It's very nice. Paul Glover is here. Scotty G Productions. Hey guys. Paul Glover. Hey Eric and Nocturnal Butterfly. Mitch Hammond is here. Nice to have you here. Rosemary Abbott. Hi everyone. Thank you, Rosemary, for joining in. Nice to have you here. And Michael Wallace says, hey guys, I'm new here. Very, very nice to have you. Very nice. New faces are always great, and hope that you become a regular here. Join the family. Hit that subscribe button. And I promise, as I always say, I promise to work very hard to keep you as a subscriber. I don't just go on autopilot. Once I get a subscriber, I don't go on autopilot. Trust me, I work harder after the fact to keep you. It's easy to get, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's not easy to get subscribers. It's easier to get subscribers. It's harder to keep them. And that's where I really try to work hard to keep you. Hippie Life is here. Hell yeah for The Walking Dead. Quentin James is here. I've never asked Quentin if he watches The Walking Dead. I don't think he does, but it's very nice that Quentin supports the program. He supports all of our programs here. And that's one thing I really, really enjoy, is the fact that sometimes people don't even, like I just mentioned here again, Metal Axe Music doesn't know anything about the show, but is here to watch this program. And it's great. You know, I really, really, truly appreciate that. Let me see, Bad Wolf Tale. And Bad Wolf Tale, we're going to talk about Bad Wolf Tale here in a second, saying hello over from the UK. Christian Smith has some phenomenal theories. A great, is it theorist? Is the word I'm looking for? A great writer, and comes up with great theories. And I'm going to talk about a couple of his tonight. And I reached out to Bad Wolf Tale to have him come on the show. He's waiting for the right opportunity, and I know we'll get him on the show sometime in the distant near future. We'll talk about some of these awesome theories, and some of these theories have made people really mad. It's like, and you see this in any field. Okay, like I'm a big rock and roll fan. I'm a Van Halen fan. I like all kinds of rock music. And back in the day, in high school, we were, criticized if we like heavy metal. We were like kind of chastised and things like that. And the same thing is in the Walking Dead community as well, too. Every community. I'm just going to use those two as examples. The fact that, we have opinions. Everyone has an opinion, and no opinion is better than the other. Nothing is right or wrong. And as we theorize on all these things in the Walking Dead world, it's opinions that we're basing after watching the show, getting a feel for the show, and we're casting our thoughts, sharing our thoughts. And some people will just tear you a new strip. So we're going to share one of those theories that Bad Wolf Tale had come up with, and because of that, I shared a video on YouTube. It's fairly popular, and I saw a lot of other people starting to do it after I did it. I'm not saying they copied from me by any means, but it's a theory that's out there, and they all ran with it. And some people are just downright wrong, and they're saying AMC's even looking at us, people that are pointing out these theories and laughing. However, I personally feel that this one theory that we're talking about in the distant near future, AMC is going to kind of change their tune a little bit, because I strongly feel that one of these theories is AMC taking this one way, and there's going to be a definitive answer over here. Smoke and mirrors. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's continue down. Let me see here. Brian Plott is here. Hello. Thank you, Brian, for joining in. I appreciate that. And like, as I mentioned, Metal Axe Music says, I don't know anything about the show, but just wanted to say hey. And that's very, very appreciated. Very awesome. Mrs. Newton is here saying hello. Nice to have you, Mrs. Newton. Hippie Life, ready for the new episode. Indeed. And for those of you that are just joining in now, which is really, really cool now, there's some great directors. The staff behind behind the scenes in The Walking Dead, not these friendly faces of the guys and girls that we see on camera every week, our heroes and superheroes and things like that. There's more superheroes behind the scene that don't get the credit. That's the writers for sure, the directors. And I talked about this recently as well too. Something that we don't necessarily ever really appreciate is the casting directors. I've mentioned this in a couple of Facebook groups as well too. One of the superheroes that's very, very important to The Walking Dead was also a very strong part of Breaking Bad. Another AMC family product was Sharon Bialy. She's the casting director, and I think there's a couple others that work with her, but I think she's the chief casting director. So whenever you get these actors and actresses that you like, I'll refer to them as actors because they're all actors. That's not saying male or female. They're all actors. Whenever you find these people on the show that you love, that is because there's a person behind the scenes that's recruiting and casting these great actors. So applause to Sharon Bialy and people like that. And a little nice nod and useless fact for some people that may not know this: the true Walking Dead fans. I shouldn't say that, because I don't want to ever say you're a true Walking Dead fan if you know this or you don't know that. That's not the case. There's probably many people watching right now that know way more facts in The Walking Dead than me. I'm sure of it. But a useless fact for the people that don't know this: Melissa McBride, who is one of our favorites, Carol on the show, she started off in the world of the entertainment industry as a casting director. She was a casting director leading up to meeting Frank Darabont, who was the first kind of founder and producer of The Walking Dead, and he obviously produced the movie The Mist. He casted a lot of his friends. He brings in friends all the time. Brought in Melissa McBride, brought in Andrea. Why have I lost her name now? And obviously Carol was in there as well. Dale, Jeffrey DeMunn, and Laurie Holden. Sorry, I forgot her name for a second. Laurie Holden, who played Andrea. I'm trying to think. There's a couple others, and I know I'm missing them too. But using friends all along the lines brought into The Walking Dead. So there you go. Casting directors are so incredibly important. Let's jump down the line, continue on here as well too. So Mrs. Newton, first time here. And yeah, we're going to continue on. I get lost train of thought very easily, but talking about the new episode, and obviously with Michael Cudlitz, Sergeant Abraham Ford, who exited the program not by his own choice, is back behind the camera, and I think that's going to be really, really awesome. As Nocturnal Butterfly, and we're talking here, and I were talking earlier, she really misses him, and she's a couple seasons behind, and I know this is very tough for her moderating a stream here. But I'm trying. We don't give away too many spoilers, and we don't. And she gets really mad at me if I spoil things. So I got to really keep my mouth shut around the house. But she really misses Abraham and all those, 2-line words. Remember, another useless fact for people that don't know this, and I only learned this through trivia. Some of those lines were, Abraham Ford would say, something makes my ass itch, or nose munch, or these weird things. There's almost like a weird yin and a yang kind of stupid phrasing he would say. They had 2 dice with a lot of words on them, 2 die, and it was a lot of different, probably like a multiple-sided dice, and they would roll the 2 of them, and those 2 words would come up, and they put them together, candy truck or whatever, whatever, that's a very bad analogy, but these 2 words that never would go together or whatever, put them together, and that was Abraham Ford, and he would come off with that gruff, look and make those words sound so funny. So she really misses him. Very, very cool. Mississippi Treasure Hunter Chris says, cool screen display. Thank you. Appreciate that. R Paris 34. Hey, what's up? Nice to have you here. Scotty G Production says, you rock, Eric B. Thank you very, very much. It really, really feels good to be back behind the microphone and on the camera again. It's good. And then Scotty G says, I buy them on DVD and watch them binge style. Yeah, I stopped buying the Blu-rays and DVDs. I've got I've got 3 or 4 or 5 of the seasons. I think the last one I have is with the Tree Walker one with the Blu-ray. You pull out the Blu-ray set, and the Tree Walker's arm reaches out, or you can push the arm and it pushes the DVDs out of Blu-rays, which is pretty cool. And I'd like to actually get back in them, even though I don't even own a Blu-ray player anymore. We actually sold all those. We don't really watch physical media anymore. We stream throughout the house here. But they are very, very nice to collect. So I think I might try to catch back up on those. And years ago, I used to have all the Simpsons. This goes to show my age, but I had all the Simpsons sets, and they had all those really, really cool box sets. And eventually they started making faces of the characters and stuff like that. And I just eventually sold them. They were taking up so much storage space that, I couldn't justify all the storage space for something we didn't watch anymore. But yeah, I might get back into The Walking Dead, collect the box sets, just because they're very, very cool. Hippie Life, I'm a new subscriber. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. Rosanna Jude says, KY Girl, thank you for joining in. I'm assuming that means Kentucky Girl. Ashley Miller says, I still miss Rick. Yeah, you know what? I do too. And a lot of us do, but it's really showing that the show can exist. And he knew that. Andrew Lincoln knew when he left. I don't even honestly think... some people think, let's say they're a key player in the workplace. They're one of these people that, does so much for the boss, and they leave, and, he or she may say, oh, those people are really going to miss me. That this office is going to tank when I leave. I don't think Andrew Lincoln was ever that type person. I don't ever think for a minute he thought, they're going to, the show can't exist without me. I really think it had 50-50 to do with him. Obviously, family first, and number 2, this show can grow. And I think he was getting a little sad. I don't want to say sad. Well, yeah, it could be. I think he was a little distraught with the direction, the way the show was going. I don't think it had anything to do with, Carl being killed off and things like that for him to leave the show. But I think, some of the writing directions, I think if you were ever considering leaving the show after step after step after step like that, I think it was probably a little easier for him to say to his wife and kids, guys, I think it's time maybe I can leave the show now and not really regret it. But he never had that impression that, or left that impression that the show won't go on without me. And as a matter of fact, I think I did a video on this saying, I think the title of the video was, did AMC just reset The Walking Dead? And they kind of did. A key character leaves, several characters have left, a major, major time jump. So we're seeing now age in children, and in some cases, and in several cases, there's been new actors playing about 3 different age gaps of each of those characters. We've got Judith now. I think we've had 3 actors playing Judith, and obviously a lot of times when you're playing a young child, you have twins involved. But we're seeing it with Henry. We're seeing it with other people as well too. Gracie. We're seeing a great jump into the future. And what's really cool about that is that lets you grieve, right? So even though we as consumers of the show, we're the home viewers watching the show, we've only had a week to deal with it, right? In this case, maybe tonight we've had 2 weeks, 2 episodes to deal with it. That's not very, you know, if we've lost a family member, that's a real tough one to go through. A week or two is not enough. But in TV land, for us watching, those 2 weeks could be 6 months, whatever, right? But in this case of the show, they've jumped 6 years now. So now the characters, the actors on the show have all had 6 years to deal with this. Some of them are dealing with it better than others. Some of them are not letting go. And that's where I'm going to jump into a theory in a second with Bad Wolf Tales theory here. I'm going to try to stick to some of my notes. And that theory is pretty cool. Even though there's been a long time jump, have all wounds passed and have people gone past that. So everyone deals with things differently, and we'll discuss that a little bit too as well. Let's continue down the chat here for a bit. We'll probably spend a lot of time just on the chat tonight, and I have no problem doing that. Mississippi Treasure Hunter says, only saw one episode like first season. I think if you can watch a couple more, I'm certainly not encouraging you to. I mean, I'm not saying you have to watch these shows, and I have people suggesting shows to me all the time too. It's something that really grows on you. It's there's so many underlying themes with the show: a family, number one, survival, and the biggest thing about Walking Dead, when you first watch the first couple seasons, it's that fear of like, how am I going to survive? You know, with these afterlife characters, walkers, zombies, if you will. You know, and that's a huge threat. But you'll realize quickly, if you're a new watcher to the program, that that's the least of the fear. It's dealing with these people now. Like, you know, I think I mentioned this in one of my last live streams too, Walking Dead or Rocking Dead related. You know, we always complain about some of these laws we have. You know, I can't drive over 55, Sammy Hagar reference, or, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. All these different laws are in place. Well, imagine when we don't have that anymore. And that's now in the world of The Walking Dead. In an apocalypse world, you know, it's anarchy, basically. You've got no laws. So laws are a good thing, because without it, you have to fear now. People can kill you on sight, and there's no repercussions for it. What I really liked about where The Walking Dead was going now, coming into season 9, is they're starting to restructure law. You know, Rick Grimes was getting back into Sheriff Rick Grimes' role, and through community, through what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a council, right? Like we saw back a bit of a start in season 3 at the prison. A council, it's not just all up to one person. And we saw also too, without a council, without people to say, yes, I agree with that, so on and so forth. And I'll try not to do any spoilers here, but there were some decisions made at the very onset of season 9 that taking the law into one's own hands. And even though it was for a very good reason, someone was taken off the show, was executed off the show. And was that right for one person to make that call? And I really, technically, I could argue that both ways, but no. And I really think the fact that now they're getting back into the council idea, it's going to be a really good thing. I think that's going to be great. And Rick was setting that up. He didn't want to be the leader anymore. He was tired of being the leader. And, you know, I think he made a lot of bad decisions, a lot of great decisions. But council, it's a vote now. Everyone has to vote on it. And I really did like the last episode where the council was coming in and they were voting on bringing in this new group, Magnus Group. And that was really interesting. There's a lot of hidden things that I need to really go back and watch that episode again, especially for the theories that we're going to talk about in a moment. Let me see here. I'm Second Winds. I want to say hi to everyone. I can't stay. I'll catch the show later. No problem. I appreciate totally. And yeah, this is something I'll focus on for a second. Bad Wolf Tale says, yeah, a lot of people have insulted me over my opinion. And that's the thing, right? It's almost these days on social media, we hate to state our opinion, even if, you know, like we don't want to say, you can have an opinion saying you suck, right? Well, that's not a nice opinion, right? We can have opinions and not be so mean. So what Bad Wolf Tale is saying, and he and I and many of a lot of us that share some similar opinions, we're sharing some theories, which could be an opinion on a particular episode. And when you get hate on that, it's like, but you know what? We've both said this, and I've seen other people say this as well too. I hope I'm wrong. I probably could be wrong, and if I am wrong, awesome. At least we'll know where to go from there. But you get attacked. And it's just like, why did I join these groups? Like some of them, right? Not all of them. Some of them are better than others. But, you know, like they say, everyone has an opinion, right? But we're going to share some of that in a second. Joshua Bray says, Bad Wolf Tale, heretic. Let me see here. Tina L. Waters, I'm new. I'm watching Walking Dead, but after Glenn, I watch with hands over eyes, peeking between my fingers. Yeah. So first of all, Tina, thank you very much for joining. I'm very happy to have a new face here. And yeah, I think that kind of raised when Glenn and Abraham exited. I think that even though we knew that was coming from the comics, we didn't know about Abraham in that particular scene, but that kind of opened up the eyes of a lot of people. Was it too gory for cable television? Was it too gory for The Walking Dead? And I think they've done some things fairly close since, as far as violence. But yeah, it's one of those things where you do kind of peek between the eyes and be a little afraid. But it's really good. I kind of just go back a little bit. So I talked about earlier when I was talking about Mississippi Treasure Hunter, saying he was just starting off in the first season, and I said we had to worry about walkers back then, but then as we got later in time, it was more about fearing the living. Now we're getting that scare factor again coming into season 9. We're worrying about walkers, and especially here again too, I know everyone that's diehard here knows what I'm talking about, the next threat, but I'm just going to leave it at that. The next threat that's coming could be tonight, could be tomorrow. We'll probably see a tiny bit of it next week as the mid-season finale. But now we're going to have another fear, not just of the living or the dead, is trying to determine which one is which, right? And that's all I'll say on that. So they're putting the fear back into us. And there's been a lot of times where we've kind of got like, okay, like, you'd see a herd of walkers coming. Daryl would go up and Carol would go up and Michonne would go up and be like, stab, 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 stab. And you got 60 bodies on the ground and like, okay, let's go for lunch. It wasn't even scary anymore. We're getting that scare factor back, and I think that's awesome. And that has a lot to do with Angela Kang in the driver's seat of the show as well. So I'll continue on. Amber Gray is here. Nice to have you back. Good to see you. She says hello, everyone. Designated Survivor. That's what Metal Axe Music is saying. I'm binge. I don't know that show. I'll have to check that out. Our Paris 34. I've got tons of crap for wearing Megadeth shirts in junior high school and high school. Exactly, right? And you know what? I'm proud of you for doing it. You enjoyed it, and I'm sure it brought you a lot of peace and salvation, going through different things in your life that you're going through. A lot of us watching Walking Dead and whatever we're watching or listening to, if it brings us peace and happiness, then who cares? Attack us all you want. We have a happy life. You maybe don't necessarily have as much peace in your life as we do, right? Scotty G Productions, laugh out loud. Jeremy Dunn, hey Eric, got to tell you, man, out of all the Walking Dead content out there, yours is the best. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm not ready to accept that compliment yet. You'll get to know me, regulars here on the show. I will take the compliment, and I will thank you for it. But I have a lot of mentors in the Walking Dead world. There's the movie idols, there's the PT channel, there's I'm trying to think of others I watch. Those are probably the two I watch. I don't watch a lot anymore. Now that I'm doing this a lot and doing all these shows, I don't have near as much time to watch other stuff. But I'd be a hypocrite and a liar if I did not say that a lot of this other stuff out there hasn't inspired me. So I thank you for that immensely. But there's so many good people out there doing what they do. I'm just a little guy, tiny little guy, and the sea of great stuff out there. So thank you. I appreciate that. Huge. Mrs. Newton, I'm definitely ready. Rosanna Jude says, love your music. Thank you. There's a couple of videos I did. People were asking, and a couple of the last episodes, any of the last 2 videos I did where I had some Walking Dead photos from the next episode coming. People are like, what was that song playing in the end there? And there's a song of mine from my retired band, Finding Core, called Pass You By. Nice, beautiful song that I really think fits The Walking Dead very, very well when it talks about, watching your life pass you by, right? You've like these characters, actors, well, the characters have lost so many of their family members to death, being eaten and, attacked, whatever, from the onset of the apocalypse. And there's been so much loss that I think my song there fits it, like watch your life pass you by. And there's so much that goes by in episode to episode, right? So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Let me see where we leave off. Let me see, Scotty G Productions. Let me see, Rosanna Jude. What kind of guitar do you play? I play many, and you can see a few. I play lead guitar, electric guitar. You can see many behind me. It's probably too many to mention right now, but I'm a Van Halen fan, as you can probably see by a lot of this stuff behind me. A lot of Van Halen style guitars, Kramer guitars, Fender guitars, PRS guitars, just anything that has 6 strings and looks sexy. I like to play it. And, Stewart guitars, Stewart Charvel guitars, all those kind of cool things. So there you go. So this is a great question. This is a very, very good question. So our Paris 34 says, do you think Father Gabriel will ever tell the group about Ann/Jadis trading people to the helicopter group? That's the $1 million question, because technically right now, Father Gabriel is the only person that has any kind of idea that what Jadis was capable of doing, right? And obviously Jadis, Father Gabriel almost became victim to Jadis, back when he went back to the pit the garbage, whatever you want to call it, compound. Jadis was asking him, come with me. And Father Gabriel, he's one of those characters too. He was almost a terror to me for the longest time, where I could really care less about him. It was almost like, please, if a walker wants to bite this guy, please do it now before the commercial. And then he kind of redeemed himself back with the Negan era, back at the compound, at the Savior's compound, stuff like that, when they're locked up in that little trailer for a while. And then he kind of lost his redemption, and then he got it back again. So it's one of those guys where he flip-flops all over the place. And I do like him a lot right now. And I do like the fact that he really, really, stood up for Rick's group. And even Rick put a lot of trust in him. I want you to keep your eyes out. And I thought that was kind of funny too, because he's blind in one eye, and Rick was saying, keep your eyes out, whatever. Or maybe he said, keep an eye out. I don't remember. But that's a very, very good question. What's Father Gabriel going to say? And we don't know if that's been discussed. We don't know if that's been brought up, because the 6-year time jump, we have to just guess. Has that ever been brought up? Is Father Gabriel waiting for the right opportunity? Or is Father Gabriel going to take that secret to his grave? There's some thoughts there too. And here again, not foreshadowing and not giving away any spoilers. Is Father Gabriel going to take his comic book role that we know is coming, going into this next arc? And will that secret never find the light of day? There's something really bad about secrets. That's why you should never keep secrets. Is, you could take them to your grave, and if it could help somebody else, like, let's just rewind a little bit. What if Rick knew the cure? What if back at the CDC, Jenner told him the cure, and Rick took that with him? And there was a lot of theories even on that. There's theories that maybe Rick knew the cure, and if he was to die, which a lot of people thought he was going to do, he would take that theory, or I mean that secret, to his grave. Can you imagine that? So who knows what's going to happen? That is the $1 million question. I think we're going to see some more things probably speeding up very quickly with Father Gabriel, and we'll find out. But again, that's amazing. Jeremy Dunn says, yeah, they got the Balls of Fury guy. Let me see. Roseanne Jude says, love Carol. Yeah, I'm liking Carol a lot as well too. Carol really was badass. And I won't say what happened last episode for people catching up, but man, oh man, when she wants to be badass, just remember back in season 1, how, sadly she was that abused wife, and, really meek and timid like a little mouse. And she kind of grew and grew and grew to one point where Rick actually kicked her out of the group and she was exiled for a while. But when she turns it up big time. And last week she did again as well too. So if I ever needed someone in my corner to save my ass, Carol would be there if I was in their world. Metalex Music says, I mostly play with one of 3 Ibanez. Very nice. Nothing wrong with Ibanez. I love them to death. Let me continue on here. We got a lot of great comments tonight. This is fantastic. Got 39 people watching right now. It's awesome. I didn't expect that. Awesome to have you. Let me see here. Amber Gray says, when you were mixing the Bisquick, were you trying to make pancakes? Okay, I missed that one. I'm not sure what it is. Is that an Abraham reference? I'm not sure. Roseanne Jude says, my boyfriend plays electric guitars, and I might have missed a comment too. I'm a little slow to the draw. Mitch Hammond says, I miss the governor. Let's take a tangent on the governor for a second. This was a point I had, and I made like written notes tonight. I'd never do written notes, but that was one of the things I did have on written notes. I make physical, digital things, I should say, and I wasn't as prepared tonight, but certainly had a few things in mind. So Andrew Lincoln recently commented, he was talking to the Hollywood Reporter, and comicbook.com picked it up, and I did a video on it saying the Walking Dead prequel. Who would you want to see play, Rick, Shane, and Laurie as a prequel leading up to the Walking Dead? Because Andrew Lincoln did give his blessing. He said, I'd love to see it happen. I'd love to see other actors portraying us. So number one, that he gave his blessing. That's fantastic. So that opens up some doors for possibly a prequel. But in that same video, and also in another video prior to that, I said, now that we're talking about these digital expansions, after Rick's episode, he went on Talking Dead and opened up this Pandora's box. Scott M. Gimple opened up this Pandora's box of all these new, the universe of The Walking Dead, far much bigger than just Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead movies now on not necessarily the big screen. I think it would be awesome if they would go to the big screen, because I think there's much more money to be made for all parties involved on the big screen than it is on television, but there's still a lot of money to be made on television. But so they're going to do 3 movies the Rick Grimes story. But I also said I think it would be phenomenal, and Andrew Lincoln said this in the same story too. I said it the week before that interview, which was kind of neat because I had nothing to base this on. I said it'd be great to see the backstory of the governor. I'd like to see the backstory. A lot of people want to see this. Meet Negan, the story of Negan with his wife, and how he wasn't necessarily the most loyal husband, and what made him so guilty for all those years now that she's gone. Adopting this baseball bat as his wife, Lucille, and still some huge guilt. And as some of us know, Lucille is missing right now, and he wants that back so bad for the closure of his wife. Also, I mentioned in the same video movies on the backstory of Merle and Daryl. Very, very, very briefly, I'll touch on this. We got a little bit of that backstory, which was great in digital content with the Walking Dead video game on PS3, Walking Dead Survival Instinct. We got to know of Merle and Daryl's dad, and how they were and I think the cousin, or I think it was a cousin of them, they traveled across the country till so many people died throughout this travel across the country in the video game travel. And we got a little bit of backstory on those guys. I would love to see that. I'd love to see that in movie form. And there's no reason why we can't, because Andrew Lincoln himself has said, with this universe of The Walking Dead, it's so easy to play with time and jump forward, backward, anywhere in between. And as much as I'm not a fan of Scott M. Gimple, I dislike his directions for a lot of reasons. Number one, he took over the job of one of my friends who was the showrunner. He took his job, and so I have a little bit of resentment that way. But you know what? People change jobs all the time, and it happens. But I didn't like a lot of his writing. I didn't like a lot of the fake things. I don't like the dumpster gate of Glenn hiding under the dumpster and we think he's dead. So I've had a lot of resentment. But what I will say, and maybe a lot of you may agree with this that don't like Scott M. Gimple, is that when he started to play with time, I think it was actually for the betterment of the show. We saw time jumps back and forward. We saw that over in Fear the Walking Dead, time jumps that was actually so many time jumps in Fear the Walking Dead. We didn't know what time we were currently in. But where they were smart is they played with color and mood. Kind of bleached out, bypassed kind of color was now, and the warm feel was before, warm and happy. So you can think of that. That's how people can just play with your moods, is color and feel and temperature in film, right? Cold and sterile, like Game of Thrones. Let's look at that, right? You don't see too many warm and happy, fuzzy, it feels warm watching that show. It's always a bleached out, very, very cold feeling camera shot. And that's a lot of things that we just don't take into consideration watching these shows sometimes. So I do like the fact that this all goes back into those movies. So long story short, Mitch Hammond, yeah, the governor, I miss him too. I did like him a lot. And it's been a while since we've had someone like that. And Negan, I think we're going to see now necessarily he could have, if Rick would have survived on, I think there could have been a lot of headbutting there. And I think we're going to see maybe a softer Negan, but a strong leader as well too. So we'll see, but he would make a great story as well too. Warfield, Kentucky from Rosanna. Okay, very nice. Yeah, Nocturnal says, yeah, the governor is a great actor. David Morrissey is absolutely great. He sold his performance every single week. Gary Holt says, I own a few Kramers, can't play a lick. And well, I'll teach you some Gary for sure. I think Gary and I are going to be talking a lot more in the very near future. We're good friends as well too. Some good things coming because of that gentleman. Now, Rosanna says, are they making movies only in London? That's a very, very good question. And okay, and maybe this might, here you go. And I'm going to tie in Brian Plott's question down below saying, Eric, do you think the group saw Rick get on the helicopter? So here's the thing. So we see the helicopter take Rick away, and also was very, very awesome. The soundtrack that they're playing as he's leaving is the very same song. I'm getting, excuse me, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now because it's so awesome. The same song that season 1, episode 1 ended, where Rick's trapped in the tank. Glenn's basically saving him by the radio. Hey dumbass, you in the tank, right? And then it ends with this really, really cool. I forget the name of the song, but that's how the song was playing in the episode where Rick left as well too. And people are saying, well, so where did this helicopter go? Because Jadis is saying to Father Gabriel, she's saying, come with me. We could live in a place far, far, far away, a place that you could nothing you could ever dream of. But the keywords were far, far away. So that makes me think that possibly another country. And I was so stupid when I thought about this, with this possible idea of, going, I figured that where they're going was far, far away. this won't be too spoiler related. It's not spoiler related, but the people in the comics know about Commonwealth, right? And Commonwealth is only pretty much on the other side of the country as far as where The Walking Dead is now, in Atlanta, Georgia, wherever. Now we're talking Ohio. That's not that great. I mean, Ohio is actually pretty close to me where I live. It's not that far of a distance that a person, even on foot, could make it there in several months, or on a horseback or cars or whatever. Not that far away, but I think that this place where the helicopter went could be, as Rosanna's saying, London. So helicopter goes to a ship, because a helicopter can only fly so far, gets on a ship, the ship takes them away, because I think these people are much bigger than just a Commonwealth that are stocked up with military, supplies, weapons, vehicles, and things like that. This is a much bigger thing, and I think it's another country. You go back and look at season 2, at the CDC, and Jenner saying, one of the last people that were close to making a cure was France, France, not too far away. So, the only thing that scares me about that thought are they making movies in London? That would be great for, obviously, Andrew Lincoln, his hometown, his home country, I should say. Shouldn't say town. London's not a town. It's a city here in Canada. But anyways, I don't think they will, because Scott M. Gimple said, and here again, he's a master of deceit. He said something along the lines of, and maybe it wasn't even Scott, it might have been one of the execs at AMC, and I think actually it was one of the execs, saying that when they do these movies, they want to try to do it on familiar landscape. Now, does that mean here in North America? Does that mean shooting up in Canada here where it's cheaper? I don't know, but who knows? And the question about Brian says, do you think the group saw Rick get on a helicopter? No, I do not. And you would think that would be the most obvious, but where he ended up, and everyone thought the same thing. Oh, why didn't anybody hear it? Why didn't they hear the helicopter? That's pretty darn loud. But you got to think of this. Here's several reasons why they didn't hear the helicopter. Number one, an explosion. Okay, I won't say necessarily what all that is. And then raging waters. Okay, raging waters going by. So there's noise right there. And then when you're in hills and mountains and forests, even in a small town, when you hear like an ambulance, the other day we're driving in the city, we heard an ambulance coming. We're like, what direction is that coming from? We're like, where's it? Really, it's right beside us almost, but we don't know if it's left, right, forward, or back. So I think it was very, very easy for people to think, well, they should have seen the helicopter or heard it. But I think it was way down over the horizon, maybe even as little as several hundred yards, maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe even a mile. So I don't think anyone in the group heard the helicopter, saw the helicopter, or even thought there was a possibility that anyone survived what happened. However, the key to all that is Father Gabriel. Father Gabriel knows there's potential behind people taking people, and maybe he thinks that, actually, I know he thinks that, because we're foreshadowing these things, that a lot of the things were Eugene did in the comics, and Father Gabriel's doing now as well too, or vice versa, with setting up communications at high points, and we won't say necessarily where, because he's aware that there's other people out there, probably things that Jade has told him, to reach out and explore these other communities. So I don't know, man. It's interesting. I don't think anyone saw the helicopter though. Let's continue on. So that was very, very cool. Mitch Hammond says Carol kicked butt last week, and we're at 7:47. We're going to be wrapping up in about 15 minutes, which will give everybody here in the Eastern Time Zone about an hour to get ready for the show. Tuck the kids into bed. Rosanna says, "Show us more interesting." Let me see here. Oh, and Quentin James says, "That's okay, Gary. I've been playing for 40 years and still can barely play the thing." Quentin always sells himself short. He's a very good player. And Rosanna says, "I love your music. We need laws." We do need laws. As much as we don't agree with them all the time, we do need them. And I agree with that 100%. I may argue with that or be a hypocrite when I get a speeding ticket, but I do think we need laws. Jason says, "I don't watch much TV on YouTube all the time, watching Eric's other shows. Laugh at Love is stopping in to give a thumbs up and say hello to EVH Gear TV and Nocturnal Butterfly." Thank you so much, Jason Wade. Appreciate that immensely. Thank you. Let me see here. Where we're at here. Quentin has the coolest. Check out Quentin's YouTube channel. Click on his profile and go to his channel. He's got Sylvester as this little bird that talks and sings and says kissy kissy and all these kind of cool things. He'll call him and he'll fly to his finger. You'll love it. Trust me. It's worth it just checking that out. And then there's some cool guitar videos too. It'd be worth your while to check it out. Let me see, where did I leave off here? I'm gonna go back to the theory in a second that we're talking about, that everyone is getting all bent out of shape about. And I think it's a great theory, and I'm going to be so happy if it becomes true, because there's a lot of people hating on us for saying this, and I really feel this theory has a lot of merit. I would say 85 to 90% stock that this is a real theory. Let me see here. Childish people, Rosanna Jude says, he agreed. And Jeremy Dunn, the new threat is terrifying. Jeremy, yes, for sure. What's coming, because you don't know what is going to be something you can take out and what is something you have no clue what's coming. Very, very terrifying. But the cool thing is, with the new threat, we're going to get a couple new characters. One particularly that a lot of us love from another hit show that is no longer on the air. It's going to be fantastic. I'll just say Ryan Hurst as the actor is going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be pretty cool. Did I learn music at school? Rosanna Jude. Unfortunately, I wasn't a good student in school. I didn't really learn much at school. If I could do it all over again, I would. No, I learned music on my own, was self-taught, all that kind of thing. So Turd Ferguson is here saying, hello, peeps. Let me see here. Joshua Bray says, I heard such words of heresy since Darwin's theory of evolution. Rosanna says, was you in a rock band? Yes, I was in a rock band for quite many rock bands for many years, probably 30 plus years, and have just since retired. And Al, do I work for AMC? I wish. If you have a contact, please send them my way. No, I don't work for AMC, and AMC doesn't even know I exist. Well, I shouldn't say that, because I've had communications with some of them before, but they really don't know I exist for the most part. So I wish I was working for them. Boy, oh boy, I'd be happy to be like their janitor. I would. Thank you. I appreciate that. Jeremy Dunn says, I just like the way Eric comes across a lot better. That's awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you. I will continue to work on that. So that's very, very nice. I thank you. Rosanna says, what are your favorite rock bands? I'll give you a couple. Right now. Van Halen, first and foremost. This isn't necessarily a rock band, but it's a rock artist. Joe Satriani. I love Greta Van Fleet right now. I love them to death. I think those guys are phenomenal. Phenomenal. I don't think they deserve any of the hate they're getting. I love Rush. I love a lot of stuff. Anything that's good music. I mean, what's good music? I don't know, if you listen to it and you get some goosebumps on your arms, I love it. It's a lot, and that goes across many genres as well too, not just rock bands. But I'm a rock guy through and through, so it'd be too long. I could do a whole episode just on my favorite bands. Do you have music albums somewhere on YouTube? I don't per se have any music on YouTube anymore. I used to have a YouTube account for my band. The best thing to do, you can go to SoundCloud. Go to soundcloud.com/Eric Broadbent Solo, and you can listen to the music there. It's available for streaming. If you want to purchase any of the music, I have availability for that very affordably as well too, through my Patreon page, which supports all of my shows here. And it supports our family, which we all appreciate. It's patreon.com/EVH Gear TV. And you can start joining the program at $1, $4, $8, and $12 a month. And I think, don't quote me, and Nocturnal Butterfly will be so upset with me if I don't know my own Patreon tiers. She pretty much sets all this stuff up for me, but I think it's a $4 tier. I think will let you get 2 downloads of the full album downloads of my music. Just double check that. Maybe she can confirm, and I do apologize. I don't know in advance. I think it's the $4 one, but I'm not positive on that. But all my music is available. There's 2 albums and 2 bonus tracks, I believe, as well too, that were in a movie that are available for download, and they're high quality MP3s as well. Rosanna says, I grew up in the old rock bands. Amber Gray says, Negan knows about the helicopter as well. Yes, because that's a great point. Because he saw it at the same thing. Was basically Negan was tied up, right, on the little cart, whatever, and strapped down, whatever. Same thing as Father Gabriel, and he saw the helicopter, and Jadis even shot the flare to try to get detention. So yeah, good. Thank you for reminding me on that, Amber. Good call. David Jorgen Peter says, I usually catch your EVH and Helix shows. This is my first time seeing this one. Very interesting. Thank you. And here again, this was something I like to offer on the channel. You know, not everybody loves Van Halen as much as I do and some of us do here. And, you know, I run the Helix show. Not everybody likes Helix or knows what that is. Not everybody knows the Kramer Corner, things like that. So I thought, now I've got 4 specialty programs. So let's say maybe one of the guys watch the show to watch some EVH stuff, and their wife likes, or girlfriend loves Walking Dead. Well, now they can kind of tune in and see what's over here. And what's really funny, I didn't expect this, but I launched Walking Dead a month or so ago, and all of a sudden I'm getting these people, a lot of guys, message me saying, you know what? I came here for the EVH, and I came here for Walking Dead and found out you're a guitar player and you got guitar stuff here. I'm a guitar player too. And I'm like, awesome. It's win-win for all of us. I love it. So thank you, David. Let me, Roseanne Jude, Negan knows about the helicopter. Yeah, just as Amber was saying. Let me see here. Let's continue on here. I'm gonna probably wrap up the show here talking about that one theory that's got everyone all, as some of the people say in the United States, butt hurt, and that's what they are. They're all butt hurt over this theory. Amber Grace's Abraham reference. Lavallee said to Glenn when he found out Maggie was pregnant. Yeah. And Quentin says, okay, let's ask this question. When you think the end game of The Walking Dead, what do you think the end game would be of The Walking Dead? If it was real, how do you think things for mankind would work out? And will there be a Helix update? Yeah, let's hope if the end of days comes that Line 6 still has power and can send us updates. I honestly think the end... see, this is where another theory comes in, Quentin. This logo that's on the helicopter is this 3-circle type of thing. And, you think of Olympics, only smaller, like the way the logos are laid out, circles are laid out. And Tommy Forbes, I think the gentleman's name was, who came up with this first theory, he commented on my page, and then once he commented on my page, I saw this everywhere after that, and I did a video based on his comments. So that's another thing. Don't you ever think, any of you think that I don't read the comments, because I do, and sometimes, quite often, I've turned your comments into videos, and I'll credit you for it, 100%. I'll never take credit where credit isn't due. I give it to you guys and girls. But Tommy talked about those 3 circles, and Amber Gray actually went further on to take it to next level as well, too. She did some research on the, I think it's called a tricerata. Maybe she can mention in the chat. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but a tricerata or tricerata knot. And, John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin adopted one of the circles like that symbol from this logo for his persona from the Zeppelin albums. And I can't really retell the whole story. I'm the worst at telling stories again, but basically stands for, disaster, annihilation, and then recovery, right? So if you think of that in the Walking Dead realm, is, mankind becomes the infestation of the walkers, exterminate everything, and then rebuild or rebirth. So there's some great theories on that. I don't even know how that spawned. I don't even know where that whole theory spawned from. That's from Quentin James. I'm sorry. Basically, how do you think it'll end? So I think the ending would be possibly a cure, and then happy-go-lucky, everyone goes off into the sunset. But Robert Kirkman has been on the record several times saying that he doesn't think that he doesn't want to show a cure. He doesn't want to even state the theory of a cure or even how it started. So who knows? Who knows? I think we only have a few years left in The Walking Dead on the television series. And here again, I got into some arguments on that one as well. 2 people were like, well, I said 2 years. But Melissa and Carol and Daryl signed 3-year contracts. And I'm like, read closely what they said. 3-year contracts, yes. But that could pick them up as little chess pieces and plant them in any other digital property that AMC wants. Movies, spin-offs, video games, whatever, right? So let's continue on. So that was Quentin's question. Tina Walters says, yeah, there's Abraham quote, as Carol is one of those characters, your problem comes when she quits talking. It's sudden and quick. Yeah, and, I haven't heard this name mentioned in a long time. R. Paris 31st, I would obviously love to see Jay Bonham Ninja talk. I forget how to pronounce his name. Walking Dead novels on the rise of the governor. Books were awesome. Yes, and he was very, very big in the community and still very heavily invested. Oh, that's a very good point. Beta, Bad Wolf Tale says, I think Beta might have found Lucille. Could be interesting. That would be very, very cool, because the people that have read the comics, they know there's an exchange between Beta and Negan, and there's a bat involved. So that's really, really cool, Bad Wolf Tale. Thank you for sharing that. Very, very cool. We're just moments away from wrapping up. I mean, we don't have to wrap up at 8, but I'd like to try to let you folks get ready for the show. I want to touch base on this theory that Bad Wolf Tale touched base on, was the fact that, and I'll try not to go too heavily into the spoilers. It's not really a spoiler. If people watching, Rick and Michonne were hoping to conceive, right? Rick had said to Michonne when she's trying to plan all of these plans to be the leader of Alexandria and law and government and things like that. She's planning out this whole project she's working in. Rick's trying to get her to stop, takes her pencil, throws it away. And, she's like, I'm planning for the future. I'm planning to rebuild the future. And Rick, getting all frisky, is like, well, I can think of other ways to rebuild the future. And then, of course, cut to the, gratuitous sex scene. And fast forward, now we've got RJ. Now, the big theory is RJ real? Is RJ real? And I think there is more... and it's so funny because they're toying with the name Rebar Grimes for the child's name, Rick Jr., whatever. But is that child real? And here's where people are tear us a new strip. So, and this is just a small scene from the show. So Magna supposedly she goes to knock on Michonne's door, basically the house where Rick and Carl and Judith and Michonne lived. Now it's just basically Michonne and Judith and supposedly RJ. So you see Michonne sitting there talking, you know, I didn't have to go through, but you didn't have to go through this. She's talking to someone very, very distraught. There's no one in the room, no one in the room. And then, you know, you see she turns around and she calls RJ, and RJ comes running from the kitchen, jumps up into her arms, and she gives him a hug. This child's supposed to be 6 years old, 6+. Okay. The child looked like 3.5, 4, maybe in onesie pajamas. This child is never seen outside playing with all the you know, the Alexandrian kids when they would be, for sure, when he would be. Then Magna comes up, knocks on the door. She's got the knife, potentially possibly going to kill Michonne. And then all of a sudden she looks like this, and she's looking like she's seeing the child. And everyone says, okay, so Michonne's hallucinating, but Magna saw her. So Magna's hallucinating too. But that's where AMC is making us feel that Magna saw that. You can do a lot of things with camera angles to make us feel. Look how they deked this out with the people getting hit with Negan with the bat. How many people thought, okay, well, this person over here, the blood came from the right and splattered this person on the left. It's got to be this person. Camera angles can be deceiving, very deceiving. And I swear by this, that she did not see him in the room, because the next scene again, when Magna's gone, RJ's gone again. Right? And then Judith is walking down the hall. She's trying to tiptoe, and she hears Michonne, her mom, talking to someone. And then she's like, she hears someone there. And why would she be tiptoeing, you know, if she's talking to potentially RJ? Why would she have to sneak if there's the baby and the child, not a baby, the child in the room? She wouldn't sneak. So she starts to sneak back, and Michonne's like, Judith? And then whoop. And then RJ's gone again. So, I mean, honestly, AMC's like laughing at all of us pointing out these series. But this is one of the biggest series that I've ever seen that I think is 100% real. I mean, I'd be the first one to say, okay, well, I'll eat crow, and I was totally wrong. But I really honestly don't think so. And when this video is done, you can't comment right away, but when this video is done, comment and let me know what your thoughts on that. Do we have any stock in thinking that? I think it's one of the coolest series ever. And I honestly think this has more validity than any of these other crazy ones that a lot of us have shared, including myself. Rick's here, Rick's that, this happens to this person. This person wears a mask and kills this person. I was so far wrong. And I'm the first person to say, you know what? I was wrong by a long shot. But I don't think we, as a bit of a society here, are wrong thinking that. Curious to see what your thoughts are. As we wrap up here, 8:01, I'll try to get down to the last couple comments. I want to tell you about a couple really cool things. Tomorrow night, very heavy Walking Dead related content. Vincent M. Ward, who played Oscar, one of the fan favorites of season 3 at the prison. Oscar, you know, was the type dude that would, even though Rick was about to kill him, was not about to beg for his life, and became a loyalist to Rick. He's on the show tomorrow. We're going to be talking about season 3, talking about how Oscar probably could have been a great contender for Team Rick going into further seasons. Unfortunately, we didn't get that luxury, but he's going to be on the show tomorrow as well too. For the guitar player, people and the fanatics, Tuesday night as well too. Same time, 9 o'clock on Tuesday Eastern time. I've got Michael Charvel, son of Wayne Charvel, of Charvel Guitar Legacy, and he's business partner in the family business as well. Sadly, him and a lot of other people in the campfire of throughout Paradise, California, and all those other Calabasas and all those other places in California that were just consumed by those horrific wildfires. He's coming on the show. They lost everything. They lost a family business. They barely escaped with their lives. He's going to come and tell his story on Tuesday as well too. But definitely wanted to tell you about that. We'll try to turn that into a positive as well too. But Oscar's on the show tomorrow night, and we just launched a fantastic giveaway today in a contest. We did some. If you have guitar players in your life, we launched the top 12 holiday gifts for guitarists. It's a video on the channel here, and everything's under $100. So if you're looking for that great gift for a guitar player under $100, have that on the video here. And if you go partway through the video, you'll also see a new contest we launched, the 12 Days of Rockmas. It's our first annual, and we're going to be giving away things every day from December 12th and through December 24th coming up, and we're going to do a live draw on the 26th. So even if you're not a guitar player, It's worthwhile checking out because you might have a guitar player in your family. You want to be a hero and give them something cool. This would be something that you can have as a free Christmas gift. All you got to do is subscribe and turn on notifications and follow those other tips. Make sure your channel subscriptions are open so we can verify that you are subscribed. But watch that video as well too. It's one of the last ones uploaded on the channel. Should be very easy for you to find. Let's go through the last few comments here. I did have quite a few other things I wanted to talk about, but you know what? You know what? I pretty much nailed it all. One of the other highlights was, what are your thoughts on Carol and her use of matches? That's a little fun inside joke for those that know. Very, very cool. Rosanna Jude said he ruined Fear. I'm assuming you're referring to Scott M. Gimple. Yeah. There's not a lot of Scott M. Gimple love in the Walking Dead world. I've heard a lot of people saying they wish he was a character on the show, and then it could have its own exit. Let me see here. I don't think I've missed too much else here. Yes, and Maida Rivera says, I don't think the boy is real. Brian Platt, if not real, Magna was probably like, this chick is crazy. I'm not messing with her. There you go. That's right. Brian Plott says, do we think we'll see a Dwight or Heath this season? I have a feeling we might see Heath this season, but I don't think it's going to be a positive outcome if we see Heath this season. That's what I'm led to believe. But I do think we're going to see Dwight, and I really strongly feel we're going to see Dwight. He is listed in IMDb credits for about 3 episodes, I think towards the second half of season 9, which will be after the winter break. So we'll see. Roseanne Jude says, I'm going to watch. I love playing music. Oscar would be taller than Beta. Yeah, you know what, Bad Wolf, you're true on that, because the person, as I mentioned earlier, I mentioned his name. I won't say it again just for spoiler's sake. But the person that plays Beta is not necessarily a super, super tall person, and they're going to make him look bigger than what he is. Because if I remember correctly, wasn't Beta in the comics? Wasn't he a former basketball player, and he wants to hide his identity? All those characters want to hide their identities. So he's a basketball player, very, very tall. So they're going to make him look bigger. But Oscar, Vincent M. Ward, is a very, very tall fellow for sure. This is awesome. We are at 8:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to wrap up here. I wanted to say a couple things here. I want to thank a lot of you that are in the chat here tonight. Some of you are regulars over on the YouTube channel and have been sending me a lot of nice positive comments. It's been sharing theories on The Walking Dead as well. I appreciate that, but also were wishing me well when I was sick. And I tell you, it does help a lot. A lot of positive energy goes a long way. This has been a really fun hour with you, and I really hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Season 9, Episode 7, Stradivarius, directed by Michael Cudlitz. And I'm going to do everything, and I'm going to use the mustache to get this to work for me. I'm going to try to reach out to Michael Cudlitz people and get him on the show. I think the mustache is strong between us. I'll get him on the show, and I think he'd be very well received by you guys and girls for sure. I'll do everything I can to make that happen, and he's supposed to be 7 feet tall from Rosanna. I agree with that for sure. I agree with that 100%. But I want to thank you all very, very much, and I hope you enjoyed tonight's Walking Dead episode, and I hope it's everything you're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be doing that very, very soon. A few more things to do before we get up to that, but thank you so very, very much for tuning in. It's a real pleasure, and if you're new here, as a few of you are, hit that subscribe button. I promise you I will work very hard to keep you here, and I'll do everything in my power to make it very entertaining each time you come back. All right, Brian Plott says, love the show, peace. Everyone take care, enjoy the show tonight, and we will see you very, very soon. And until next time, cheers.
Walking Dead is brought to you by Design39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for Walking Dead are provided by Rode Microphones. Get your Walking Dead swag available in the Broadstash Boutique at broadstash.com. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.